Andre Drummond would have been considered one of the best players in the league with the way that he plays. Today, with the advanced statistics that we have and all the ways that we measure players, he's basically considered a net negative with his contract, which is just it's a stunning turn of events, and the warriorification of the league that Houston is kind of taking to the next level here by going five small guys basically. I mean, PJ Tucker's what, like 6'6"? He's going to be playing center. He's just unheard of. And then meanwhile for the Cavs, it's not like the Cavaliers are lacking in big men. So this is also it's very very strange because now the Cavaliers arguably their three most valuable players this year in terms of how their best players I should say are all theoretically guys who should really be playing center in Andre Drummond, Kevin Love, and Tristan Thompson. So strange move all around. I mean, what do you make of it?
Well, I think if we're sitting here a month from now and Thompson gets bought out to sign with a contender, this deal will make a bit more sense. I thought Kevin Love was as good as gone, but I think this trade signaled the Cavs are trying to go for it in a way with their young backcourt of Garland and Sexton, along with Love and a combination of Thompson and Drummond. But at least now they can either buy Tristan Thompson out or use him as an offseason trade chip. And then the Cavs might think they have enough to compete in the East with a loaded front court. I think they're a little bit older. You know, Drummond been in the league 8 years, and Kevin Love's injury history and the fact that he's been in the league a while. But I think they might have the inklings of having something here with a young backcourt compared with a veteran-savvy front court. Don't know from a chemistry standpoint how well it's going to work, but I mean, when you get that sort of a return for Andre Drummond, I mean, that's something a rebuilding team takes a chance on. There are no real assets involved here, but that was probably the most surprising move that I think made the most sense. I'm just a little surprised they traded Drummond within their division, but either way, he had to go. So the Pistons come out smelling like roses, and the Cavs are going to say, okay, let's see what they got. I mean, absolute worst case scenario, and I think this would be a train wreck, Ben, is if you play Drummond at the 5, Thompson at the 4, and Love at the 3. But I don't really see that working out. I know
Yeah,
it's a stretch.
I don't think they're gonna do too much of that, but I think it does. I mean, they came out and said they're not buying out Tristan Thompson. I don't know if I really buy that. And I mean, the truth is that that's the most significant trade if they do buy him out because he suddenly goes potentially to Houston. And then Houston basically gets rid of Capella and ends up with a center who's, I mean, I don't know, 70, 80% as good as Capella is. I mean, that would be incredible if the Rockets ended up getting Covington and Thompson basically through a deadline trade. That would be an incredible turn of events and could genuinely shift the championship picture. That is how significant to me that would be because they would suddenly have debatably the best wing rotation in the playoffs with all the guys they added, and they would have two superstars surrounded by, I mean, just really nice role players all around. And Thompson is a wonderful fit for them as a guy who's really content doing the dirty work, getting rebounds and playing some defense. So could have some downstream effects. But I think the other big trade we have to mention is that the Andre Iguodala Derby ended up with your correctly predicted uh, move to the Miami Heat along with Jay Crowder. The Heat end up trading back a few pieces here to Memphis as well. But I mean, what do you make of the Heat being the winners of that kind of Iggy lottery and managing to get him and Crowder to fill out their playoff rotation?
Well, on our last week's main show, you know, I mentioned the Heat as a potential destination for Iguodala, but I mentioned them behind Houston and LA because we didn't know at the time if the Houston trade with Capella was close to being made official. So I think the Heat are a perfect destination, and you've even seen in his first 2 games how he just fits into that culture with Spoelstra and Riley and Jimmy Butler and him having the championship pedigree that he has, winning 3 rings in 5 years with Golden State, just the respect that he garners around young players and just another veteran leader to put alongside Butler around a young team with guys like Adebayo and Hero and Nunn. And it may not show too much in the box score, because, he's been a plus 27 in one of the games, even though I think it was his return to Golden State. He was a plus 27, even though he only scored 2 points. I mean, he's past the point of being the focal point of an offense, but in a 7-game playoff series, I mean, that's somebody you want on your side. And it ends up being a great deal for the Grizzlies, too, getting a player like Justice Winslow to put in their core with Brooks and Morant and Jackson. I mean, that is the missing wing. And you take a look at Memphis, along with Tyus Jones, your boy. I mean, they have the makings of a nice young core in the West, and I think they're a couple years away from being taken very seriously. So shout out to the Grizzlies for not only getting a first-round pick to take on Iggy's contract, but keeping him away from the team despite their surprising start. They get rid of Jay Crowder as well, and then they wind up getting a nice young piece in Justice Winslow. So they basically got a first-round pick and Justice Winslow because Kevin Durant decided to leave Brooklyn and the Warriors needed cap space. So that is, again, just like what Cleveland did, that like Detroit did, this is what rebuilding teams do. It's a calculated risk, and it's one that netted them a very good player on a second contract in Justice Winslow. And then I mentioned how good that Iggy can be for the Heat. I think more as an off-the-court leader than on-court contributions, but he could still factor in the game as well.
Yeah, I'm a little more on this trade. I really don't think either team got meaningfully better with this. I don't really like the fit of Justice Winslow on this team, to be honest. He's a guy who I just really am not sure where he's going to play. Anywhere you play, I feel anywhere that he plays on this team, you're basically taking the ball out of the hands of someone better than him. Unless he's going to play like the 2, in which case he can't shoot well enough to play the 2, and neither can Morant. So I don't really see where he fits on this team. I mean, I guess I get it theoretically if he's healthy and he lives up to his potential, but Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson are better than Justice Winslow has proven to be at any point in his career right now. And Dylan Brooks is debatably there too. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, it's a theoretical move, but I don't know. There's just a lot of pieces in Memphis, and I don't really know how they fit. They've got Jonas Valanciunas, Gorgie Dang, Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson, Justice Winslow, a lot of these wings besides those guys, and then obviously the key guy is Morant. So I don't know. It's a weird mix. And then for the Heat, I'm a little bit concerned that they really didn't meaningfully make themselves better. I mean, I guess they've got more lineup flexibility now, but I don't know that Iguodala is really like a no-doubt starter on a team at this point.
Well,
in his
he's not
career.
going to be a starter. He's going to come
Yeah.
off the bench, but they got rid of Deion Waiters and the distraction that he provides there because the Miami Heat are probably one of the best cultures in the league just based on the program. And you have a president and a coach and a GM that have been in lockstep this whole time and have won 3 championships this decade, 06, 2012, and 2013. The fact that they lost Dwayne Wade and they get another superstar right away, that's going to be a draw. The Heat, I think, still could add another impact player this offseason. You have Iguodala under contract next season, and I think his deal increases if they don't sign anybody of impact. But I think the Heat are a destination again. They're the surprise team in the East this year, I think, alongside the Raptors. But they're right there, and I think they're going to get somebody in the summer. So whatever happens, if they make it to the second round, if they somehow sniff the conference finals, great. I think any one of the top 6 teams in the East can make some real noise this year. 7 if you include the Nets, depending on what KD and Kyrie do if they come back and play. No, I'm serious.
I know.
The 6 teams and then potentially the Nets, depending on what happens with their 2 stars. But the Heat are going to have pieces. They're going to make additions. And I disagree with you, man. On the Grizzlies end of things, you put Clark, Jones, Jackson, Morant, Winslow, Brooks. That's nice, man, especially since they drafted a lot of those guys and, they were basically a facilitator that netted them Justice Winslow. I'm not saying Winslow's going to be an all-star, but it's just it's a young core. And if they play well, they make it into the playoffs, they could be that next up-and-coming team in the West that free agents notice. You mentioned 2021, Giannis can come off the books. Leonard could come off the books. George could come off the books. You might see them try and form a super team in Memphis if these young kids look good. So all I'm saying is you never know.
This is true. I'm a little more skeptical than you are, but there is one more kind of piece of this trade deadline that I think we do need to talk about, Jason, which is now the Sixers did make a move. They get Alec Burks, they get Glenn Robinson III, but maybe the bigger story, Jason, is Joel.
Well, they
Embiid.
also traded James. They also traded James Ennis.
That's true. That's true. They did
They
trade Ennis.
and that came out like 20 or 30 minutes before they got Burks and they got Robinson, and then they traded Ennis to the Magic in exchange for a second round pick. So, I'm sitting there reading Twitter thinking, well, did they open up a roster spot? Do they have something bigger? And they didn't. But I'm going to read this quote to you that a wise man once said: "You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain." Hashtag the process. That was done in the year 2020 by the prophet Joel Embiid. So, and then a man named Jimmy Butler, who formerly of the process team, said, "I know a place where villains are welcome," and then gave a shrug emoji. So that got a lot of people hot in Philadelphia, right, Ben? That's people saying, well, is Embiid going to leave when his contract runs out and go join the Heat? Which is a possibility. I mean, it's no secret that the Simmons-Embiid experiment is just not working, Ben. And I think it's becoming more and more clear that within the next year and a half, one of them has got to go. They either need to trade Simmons and bring in a shoot-first point guard, or they need to get rid of Embiid and build a team of shooters around Ben Simmons. It's got to be one or the other, right? So, I mean, I know you're not the biggest Instagram-savvy guy. You're more old school. You actually take pictures with a camera that the picture comes out of the little slot there, and you hang it up on clothespins, and you shake it dry, and then you put it on a wall next to your fireplace. But no, seriously, I mean, I know it's social media, and I know a lot of these guys can be trolls sometimes, but do you think there's any real juice here?
Honestly, I mean, I'm not a huge believer. I still feel like the Sixers are the type of team that when chips come down, I still like their chances. I think that they are much more suited for a playoff atmosphere. They're big, they're physical, they can defend. And I actually, to be honest, I thought, and we'll talk about some other under the radar moves in a second, I actually sort of liked these moves. I think Glenn Robinson and Alec Burks have been like sneaky useful in Golden State, and they basically fill in the last few spots in the rotation. They're kind of going to fill in those eighth, ninth roles, and they're guys who can come in and basically do more or less one major thing for this team, and that's shoot the ball. I mean, it's not complicated. It's not difficult or tricky at all. Glenn Robinson can shoot the three. He's a career 37% shooter. Alec Burks is another guy who, when he gets hot, he can handle the ball a little bit, but he can also shoot it. He shoots 36% in his career. He's had years where he topped 40% in Utah. So I think that it's very, very simple to see what these moves add to the team. And I think that they're useful moves. I think that they're moves that a team looking to get a little bit of championship juice wants to take, because it gives them a couple guys that they can just slot in when they need to add shooting and can play some minutes. So I like the moves. I think the Sixers are going to be okay. I am not in panic mode with the Sixers. They have a lot of talent, and I'm sort of in the like wake me up when the playoffs come kind of mode with the Sixers, because I just think that at the end of the day, the NBA is about talent, and this is a team with more talent than almost any other team in the Eastern Conference. And I think ultimately when push comes to shove, that's going to show. So I'm not buying the panic with them. I think they're going to be just fine.
You know what? After all these deals that we've broken down, and I know you fancy the Sixers a championship contender since they are your pick, still to hoist the Larry O'Brien Trophy this June. But honestly, I think the only team that really improved via trade at the deadline were the Clippers, getting Marcus Morris
Yep.
and Isaiah Thomas, who they waived. But they got rid of Jerome Robinson, your boy, Mo Harkless, and a 2020 first-round pick, with Robinson going to the Wizards, Harkless and the pick going to the New York Knicks. And honestly, I think this was a great move with the way Marcus Morris was playing. I think he's that other big man along with Montrezl Harrell that could really man the second unit, provide some scoring and rebounding off the bench in the playoffs. I was a little surprised at first that the Clippers didn't keep Isaiah Thomas, but then when you have guys like Beverly and Lou Williams already in that role, along with Landry Shamet, there was really no need for IT, which, why ruffle feathers then and keep him on the Wizards, because now he's kind of stuck in no man's land as free agency. I mean, sure, I'll latch on somewhere, but I thought it was a good deal for the Clippers. I mean, they really beat out a lot of playoff hopefuls getting Marcus Morris. I mean, what do you make of that deal?
My only problem with that one is I am not a fan of Marcus Morris's game. I think he's a bit of a ball stopper. I thought Kyrie got a lot of criticism for everything that happened in Boston, and I thought Marcus Morris was just as